The moment Maya Rodriguez saw her name next to his on the nominations list, she knew this year's National Architecture Innovation Award was going to be different. Harrison Foster. The Harrison Foster, founder of Foster Design Collective, whose net worth probably exceeded the entire annual budget of her small firm 10 times over. She had poured 3 years of her life into the community center project that earned her this nomination, working nights and weekends, fighting for every sustainable feature and accessible design element. Now she would be competing against a man who could probably buy the entire awards committee if he wanted to. Maya stood in her cramped office above a bakery in Portland's historic district, staring at the email on her laptop screen. Her business partner and best friend since architecture school, Jennifer, leaned over her shoulder. "Holy hell, Maya, you are up against Harrison Foster, the Harrison Foster." "I can read, Jen." Maya closed the laptop harder than necessary. "It does not change anything. My project speaks for itself. Your project is incredible, but his downtown mixed-use development has been featured in every architecture magazine in the country. The man has a Pritzker Prize, for crying out loud." Maya turned to face her friend, squaring her shoulders. At 29, she had built her firm from nothing, taking on projects that larger firms would not touch because the budgets were too small or the clients too demanding. The Bridgewater Community Center was her masterpiece, a space that served everyone from toddlers in daycare to seniors in art classes, all powered by solar panels and built with reclaimed materials. "He can have his fancy magazine covers," Maya said. "I have something better. I have a building that actually matters to real people." 3 weeks later, Maya found herself walking into the Portland Architectural Society's elegant headquarters for the first round of award presentations. Each nominee had to present their project to the committee and answer questions. She wore her best navy blazer, the one she saved for client meetings, and carried her presentation materials in a leather portfolio her mother had given her when she graduated. The marble lobby echoed with voices. Maya recognized several faces from conferences and industry events. Then she saw him. Harrison Foster stood near the windows, talking with 2 committee members. He was taller than she expected, maybe 6'2", with dark hair starting to show distinguished gray at the temples. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent, tailored perfectly to his broad shoulders. When he laughed at something one of the committee members said, the sound carried across the lobby, warm and genuine. Maya felt something flutter in her stomach that she immediately dismissed as nerves. Maya Rodriguez, a woman with a clipboard, approached. "You are scheduled to present in 15 minutes, conference room B." "Thank you." Maya gripped her portfolio tighter and headed toward the hallway. "Miss Rodriguez," she turned. Harrison Foster was walking toward her, hand extended. Up close, she could see his eyes were an unusual shade of gray-blue, like the ocean before a storm. "Harrison Foster. I wanted to introduce myself before things get too competitive." His smile was disarming, reaching all the way to those remarkable eyes. Maya shook his hand, trying to ignore how warm and solid it felt. "Maya Rodriguez, though I suppose you already knew that. I have been following your career, actually. The Bridgewater project is exceptional. The way you integrated community input into every design phase that takes real skill and patience." She blinked, caught off guard. "You know my work, of course. I make it a point to know my competition." He was still smiling, but there was something else in his expression now. Respect, maybe. That adaptive reuse of the old warehouse space, brilliant solution to a tight budget. "Well, not all of us have unlimited funds." The words came out sharper than she intended. Harrison's smile did not waver. No, but money cannot buy what you have, Miss Rodriguez. Passion. Connection to the community. Those are worth more than any budget. Before Maya could respond, the woman with the clipboard called her name again. We are ready for you, Miss Rodriguez. Good luck, Harrison said, though something tells me you do not need it. Maya's presentation went well. She spoke about the families who used the center, the seniors who had helped choose the paint colors, the teenagers who now had a safe place to study after school. She showed photos of the building at different times of day, lights streaming through the carefully placed windows, the community garden flourishing on the green roof. The committee asked thoughtful questions. She answered each one with confidence, her nervousness fading as she talked about the work she loved. When she finished, the committee chair, an elegant woman in her 60s named Patricia Chen, smiled warmly. Thank you, Miss Rodriguez. Your passion for this project is evident. We will notify all nominees of our decision in 6 weeks. Maya gathered her materials and stepped into the hallway, adrenaline still humming through her veins. Harrison was leaning against the wall outside conference room A, scrolling through his phone. He looked up when he heard her footsteps. How did it go? Good, I think. How was yours? Hard to say. I have done so many of these presentations, they all blur together after a while. He pocketed his phone. Listen, several of us are getting drinks at the bar across the street. Other nominees, some committee members, you should come. Maya hesitated. She had planned to go back to the office, check on the residential project they were wrapping up, review the drawings for the coffee shop renovation starting next month. Come on, Harrison said, his expression open and friendly. We are all in this together. Might as well get to know each other before one of us has to give an acceptance speech. Against her better judgment, Maya found herself nodding. One drink. The bar was an upscale place with exposed brick and craft cocktails. Maya ordered a glass of wine and found herself seated at a long table with 5 other nominees, including Harrison, who somehow ended up in the chair beside her. The conversation flowed easily. They talked about challenging clients, impossible deadlines, the eternal struggle between artistic vision and building codes. Maya found herself laughing more than she had in weeks, the tension she had been carrying in her shoulders slowly releasing. So Harrison, one of the other nominees, a woman named Sarah who specialized in sustainable housing, said with a mischievous glint in her eye. What is it like being the only nominee here who could probably fund everyone else's projects out of his pocket change? The table went quiet. Maya tensed, waiting for Harrison's reaction. He took a sip of his whiskey, seemingly unbothered. Well, Sarah, I would argue that money is not what makes a project great. Vision makes a project great. Execution makes a project great. I might have more resources, but that just means I have fewer excuses when something goes wrong. Diplomatic answer, Maya heard herself say. Harrison turned to her, eyebrow raised. You disagree. I think resources matter more than you are admitting. It is easy to take risks when you have money to fall back on. When you are working with a shoestring budget, every decision feels like life or death. That is fair, Harrison said, his gaze steady on hers. But I would argue that constraints breed creativity. Your Bridgewater project is proof of that. You turned limitations into features. That takes more than money. That takes talent. Maya felt her cheeks warm. Are you always this complimentary to your competition, only when they deserve it? His voice was quieter now, meant just for her. The moment stretched between them, charged with something Maya could not quite name. Then Sarah started telling a story about a client who wanted a house shaped like a pyramid, and the tension broke. As the evening wore on, people began to leave. Maya checked her phone and realized with surprise that 3 hours had passed. She should get home, feed her cat, review those drawings. I should go, she said, reaching for her bag. I will walk you out, Harrison said immediately. They stepped into the cool October evening. Portland's streets were busy with Friday night crowds heading to restaurants and theaters. Where are you parked? Harrison asked. I took the train. I live about 20 minutes from here. Let me give you a ride. That is not necessary. Maya. The way he said her name without the formal Miss Rodriguez made her stomach flip again. It is dark, and I would feel better knowing you got home safely. My car is right there. He pointed to a sleek black Tesla parked half a block away. She should say no. She should maintain professional distance. Instead, she heard herself say, "Okay, thank you." The car was as luxurious as she expected, all leather and technology. Harrison drove smoothly through the city streets, asking her for directions to her apartment building. "You have been in Portland long?" he asked. "All my life. Born and raised. You?" "I grew up in Seattle. Moved here about 5 years ago when I started the firm. Portland has a good architecture scene. Lots of interesting projects. And you built your business from the ground up." Maya knew the basics of his story from industry publications, but she wanted to hear it from him. More or less. "I worked for a big firm in Seattle for 6 years after graduate school, saved every penny, and then struck out on my own. First 2 years were terrifying. I took any project I could get. Designed a lot of bathroom renovations and garage additions." Maya looked at him with surprise. "Really? I cannot imagine you doing bathroom renovations." He laughed. "Everyone starts somewhere. The difference is I got lucky. Had a client who believed in me, gave me a shot at a bigger project. That led to another, then another. Suddenly, I had more work than I could handle. That is not luck. That is talent and hard work. Maybe I was just in the right place at the right time." He glanced at her. "But I remember what it was like starting out. The fear that every project might be your last, never quite having enough money to feel secure. So when I said I admire what you have built, I meant it." They pulled up in front of her building, a modest 3-story structure in a quiet neighborhood. Maya unbuckled her seatbelt, but did not immediately get out. "Thank you for the ride. And for the compliments, even though we are supposed to be competitors." "Who says competitors cannot be friendly?" Harrison's expression was warm in the dim light from the dashboard. "In fact, I was thinking we should grab coffee sometime, talk about the industry, share war stories." Maya's heart did a small somersault. Coffee, just coffee. 2 architects talking shop unless you would rather not. She should say no. This was a bad idea on multiple levels. They were competing for the same award. He was a millionaire with an established reputation, and she was still trying to prove herself. Getting personally involved would only complicate things. "Sure," she heard herself say. "Coffee sounds good." Harrison's smile was brilliant. "Give me your number. I will text you and we can figure out a time." Maya rattled off her number, watching as he entered it into his phone. A moment later, her phone buzzed with a text. "Harrison Foster, so you have mine too. Good night, Maya." "Good night, Harrison." She watched his taillights disappear around the corner before heading into her building, her mind racing. What was she doing? This was insane, stupid, reckless. She could not wait for him to text her again. Coffee turned into lunch the following Tuesday at a small Vietnamese place near Maya's office. They talked for 2 hours about everything from building materials to their favorite buildings in the city. Harrison was easy to talk to, his intelligence obvious but never condescending. He asked her opinions and actually listened to her answers. When Maya got back to her office, Jennifer took one look at her face and said, "Oh no." "What, you like him?" "Maya, you like Harrison Foster." "I do not. We are just getting to know each other. Professional networking." "You are glowing. I have never seen you glow over professional networking." Maya tried to focus on work, but her mind kept drifting back to lunch. The way Harrison's eyes crinkled when he laughed. How he had remembered details from their conversation at the bar, asking follow-up questions about her family and her education. The way his hand had briefly touched hers when they both reached for the check, and the electricity she had felt at that simple contact. Her phone buzzed. "Harrison, I had a great time today. We should do it again soon." She typed back, "Me too. I am free Friday afternoon if you want to grab coffee." His response came immediately. "It is a date." "Well, not a date, unless you want it to be." Maya stared at her phone, her pulse racing. This was crossing a line. They were competitors. She barely knew him. This could end badly in so many ways, she typed. "Let's call it a maybe date and see how Friday goes, Harrison." "I can work with that. See you Friday, Maya." Friday arrived both too quickly and not quickly enough. Maya changed her outfit 3 times before settling on dark jeans and a soft green sweater that Jennifer assured her looked great. They met at a coffee shop in the Pearl District, a trendy place with industrial lighting and artisan pastries. Harrison was already there when she arrived, sitting at a corner table with 2 cups of coffee. He stood when he saw her, that warm smile spreading across his face. "I took a chance and ordered you a latte. If you want something else, I can get it." "Latte is perfect." She slid into the seat across from him, accepting the cup. "Thank you." "So," Harrison said, his eyes dancing with amusement, "this is our maybe date." "Apparently so." Maya took a sip of her coffee to hide her smile. "How do we determine if it becomes an actual date?" "Good question." "I suppose we could see if there is any chemistry between us." He leaned forward slightly. "Any spark?" "That seems reasonable." Maya's heart was hammering, but she kept her voice light. "And how do you propose we test for this spark?" "Well, I could tell you that you look beautiful today and we could see if you blush." She felt heat rise in her cheeks. "That is not fair. You ambushed me." "So you are blushing." "I did not say that." "You did not have to. Your face is the same color as that poster behind you." He pointed to a red advertisement on the wall. Maya laughed, some of her nervousness dissipating. "Okay, fine. Your turn. Let me test you." "I am ready." She studied him for a moment, this handsome, successful man who somehow made her feel like the most interesting person in the room. "You have been alone for a while, have you not? I can tell. You have that look of someone who has been focusing on work for too long and forgetting to focus on life." Something shifted in Harrison's expression. The playfulness faded, replaced by something more genuine. "You are right. I have not dated seriously in almost 3 years. Work has been consuming. Easier to pour everything into projects than to risk getting hurt again." "What happened 3 years ago?" "My fiancée left. She said I cared more about buildings than people, that I would always choose work over her." He turned his coffee cup in his hands. "The hell of it is, she was not entirely wrong. I was obsessed with building the firm, making a name for myself. By the time I realized what I was losing, she was already gone." Maya felt a pang of sympathy. "I am sorry. That must have been painful." It was. "But it also taught me something. Success does not mean much if you have no one to share it with." He met her eyes. "So, yes, I have been alone. But lately, I have been thinking maybe it is time to change that." The weight of his words hung between them. Maya knew what he was really saying, what he was really asking. "I have never been engaged," she said quietly. "Never really had time for serious relationships. Building the firm took everything I had, still takes everything I have most days." "But," Harrison prompted. "But lately I have been feeling like maybe there should be more. Like maybe I have been using work as an excuse to avoid putting myself out there, to avoid the risk." She took a breath. "I am scared, Harrison. This, you and me, it is complicated. We are competing for the same award. You are this established, successful architect, and I am still trying to prove myself." What happens if you win? Or if I win? How does this not get messy? Harrison reached across the table and took her hand. His palm was warm, his grip firm but gentle. I cannot predict the future, Maya. Maybe it will get messy. But I know that I have not felt this way about someone in a long time, maybe ever, and I think you feel something too, or you would not be here. She looked down at their joined hands, then back up at his face. He was watching her with such open honesty that it made her chest ache. I do feel something, she admitted. That is what scares me. What if we just take it one day at a time? No pressure, no expectations. We get to know each other and see where it goes. If the award stuff gets too weird, we will deal with it then. Maya knew she should be more cautious. She should protect herself, keep her distance until after the award was decided. But sitting here with Harrison, feeling the warmth of his hand in hers, all her careful logic seemed to evaporate. Okay, she said, one day at a time. Harrison's smile was like sunrise. So this is officially a date now. This is officially a date. They talked until the coffee shop started closing, then walked through the city as evening fell. Harrison told her about growing up in Seattle, his father who had been a contractor, his mother who taught art. Maya shared stories about her childhood in Portland, her parents who still lived in the same house where she grew up, her younger brother who was studying engineering. When Harrison walked her to her car, he asked, "Can I see you again tomorrow? Tomorrow? Is that not too soon?" There is no rule book for this, Maya. If I want to see you tomorrow and you want to see me, why wait? She laughed. Okay, tomorrow, but I get to pick what we do. Deal. Maya chose a hike in Forest Park, wanting to see how Harrison handled being away from the polished urban environment where he seemed so at home. He showed up in jeans and hiking boots that looked brand new, and she teased him about it. I might be out of practice, he admitted as they started up the trail. Most of my exercise happens in a gym. But he kept pace with her easily, his long legs eating up the distance. They talked about their favorite buildings, debated the merits of different architectural movements, and argued good-naturedly about whether form or function was more important in design. You cannot separate them, Maya insisted as they paused at a viewpoint overlooking the city. The best architecture serves both. But if you had to choose, Harrison pressed, if a building could only be beautiful or functional, which would you pick? Functional. Always. What is the point of beauty if the space does not work for the people using it? See, I knew you would say that. It is what makes your work so special, Maya. You never forget the human element. And you? Would you choose beauty? Harrison was quiet for a moment, looking out over the city. I used to think I would, but I am not so sure anymore. You are changing the way I think about design. Making me question my priorities. Maya felt something warm bloom in her chest. Is that a good thing? He turned to her, and the look in his eyes made her breath catch. Yes, definitely a good thing. The moment stretched between them, charged and electric. Harrison lifted his hand, gently tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. His fingertips grazed her cheek and Maya shivered. "Can I kiss you?" he asked, his voice low. She nodded, not trusting her voice. Harrison leaned in slowly, giving her time to change her mind. But Maya did not want to change her mind. When his lips met hers, soft and warm and perfect, she felt like every nerve in her body lit up at once. She kissed him back, her hands coming up to rest on his chest, feeling his heart racing as fast as hers. When they finally pulled apart, Harrison rested his forehead against hers. "I've wanted to do that since the moment I saw you in that lobby. Really, really. You walked in looking fierce and determined, and I thought, that is a woman who knows exactly who she is." It was incredibly attractive. Maya laughed softly. "I was terrified. You hit it well." He kissed her again, briefer this time. "Come on, We should keep hiking before I forget we are in public. The next few weeks passed in a blur of stolen moments and late-night phone calls. They were both careful to keep their relationship quiet, not wanting the industry gossip mill to complicate things before the award decision was announced. But in private, things between them intensified quickly. Harrison took her to a symphony performance, and Maya introduced him to her favorite taco truck. They spent an entire Saturday at her apartment, cooking dinner together and arguing over which movie to watch, settling on an old Hitchcock film that neither of them paid much attention to because they were too busy kissing on her couch. "Tell me something nobody knows about you," Maya said one night as they lay tangled together in Harrison's downtown loft. The space was beautiful, all floor-to-ceiling windows and modern furniture, but Maya noticed small personal touches that made it feel like a home. Photos of his family, books stacked on every surface, a collection of architectural models displayed on floating shelves. Harrison traced lazy circles on her shoulder. "I am afraid of flying. Not terrified, but definitely nervous. Every time I have to get on a plane, I have a moment of pure panic." "Really? But you travel all the time for work." "I know. I just power through it. What about you? What is your secret?" Maya hesitated. "I am afraid I am not good enough, that eventually everyone will realize I do not belong here competing with architects like you, that I just got lucky." Harrison shifted so he could look at her face. "Maya, you know that is not true, right? You are incredibly talented. Your work speaks for itself. Intellectually, I know that, but there is always this voice in the back of my head saying I am fooling everyone. That voice is a liar." Harrison kissed her forehead. "And I will remind you of that as many times as it takes for you to believe it." They were lying there in comfortable silence when Harrison's phone buzzed on the nightstand. He reached for it, then froze. "What is wrong?" Maya asked. "It is an email from the awards committee. They are announcing the winner next Friday at the gala. We have to attend." Reality came crashing back. Maya had been so wrapped up in Harrison, in the bubble they had created together, that she had almost forgotten about the award. Almost forgotten that they were competitors. "Oh," she said quietly. Harrison set his phone down and pulled her closer. "Hey, whatever happens next Friday, it does not change this. You and me. Okay? Okay." But Maya could not quite shake the anxiety that had suddenly settled in her stomach. The week leading up to the gala was tense. Maya threw herself into work, trying not to think about what would happen if she won, or worse, if Harrison won. Would their relationship survive the disappointment? The potential resentment? Jennifer noticed her distraction. "You have to talk to him about this." "We have talked. He says it will be fine." "But you do not believe him," Maya sighed, setting down the drawing she had been staring at for 10 minutes without really seeing. "I want to believe him, but I know how this works. Awards matter in our field. They open doors, attract clients. Whoever loses is going to feel that loss, no matter what we tell ourselves." "So, what are you going to do?" "I do not know, Jen. I really do not know." The night of the gala, Maya dressed in a floor-length emerald gown that she had borrowed from her sister. She did her makeup carefully, trying to project a confidence she did not entirely feel. Harrison had offered to pick her up, but she had declined, wanting to arrive separately to avoid fueling speculation about their relationship. The ballroom was stunning, all crystal chandeliers and elegant drapery. Maya spotted Harrison immediately. He wore a classic tuxedo and looked unfairly handsome, talking with a group of people near the bar. When he saw her, his face lit up in a way that made her heart skip. He excused himself and walked over, his eyes never leaving her face. "You look absolutely stunning. So do you. I have a table for us. I hope that is okay. I wanted to make sure we could sit together." "Harrison, people will talk. Let them talk." I am tired of hiding how I feel about you, Maya. He took her hand, his thumb brushing over her knuckles. Whatever happens tonight, I want you to know something. You are the best thing that has happened to me in years. Award or no award, that does not change. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. You really mean that? Every word. They found their table, joined by a few other architects and their partners. The dinner was excellent, the conversation flowing easily, but Maya barely tasted her food. Her stomach was in knots, anticipation and anxiety warring inside her. Finally, Patricia Chen took the stage. Good evening, everyone. We have reached the moment you have all been waiting for, this year's National Architecture Innovation Award. Maya felt Harrison's hand find hers under the table, squeezing gently. This year we had an exceptional pool of nominees, Patricia continued. Each project represented the best of what our profession can achieve. But one project stood out for its innovative approach, its commitment to sustainability, and most importantly, its impact on the community it serves. Maya's heart was hammering so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. The winner of this year's National Architecture Innovation Award is Maya Rodriguez for the Bridgewater Community Center. The room erupted in applause. Maya sat frozen, unable to process what she had just heard. She had won. She had actually won. Harrison was on his feet, pulling her up into a fierce hug. "Congratulations," he said into her ear, his voice thick with emotion. "You deserve this, Maya. You deserve every bit of this." She pulled back to look at his face, searching for any sign of disappointment or resentment. But all she saw was genuine joy, pride, love. "You are not upset, are you kidding? I am thrilled." He kissed her, right there in front of everyone, a kiss that held nothing back. When they broke apart, the room had gone silent, everyone staring. Harrison kept his arm around Maya's waist as he addressed their stunned audience. "In case anyone is wondering, yes, Maya and I are together. And before you ask, no, it did not affect the judging. We kept our relationship private specifically to avoid any concerns about impropriety, but I am not hiding it anymore." He looked down at Maya, his expression soft. "I am in love with this woman and I am proud of her, and I want everyone to know it." Maya felt like her heart might explode. "You love me, I love you. I should have said it before, but I was waiting for the right moment. This feels like the right moment." "I love you too," Maya whispered, and then louder, so everyone could hear. "I love you too, Harrison Foster." The room erupted in applause again, this time mixed with laughter and a few whistles. Patricia Chen was smiling from the stage. "Well, that is certainly one way to make this evening memorable. Maya, please come accept your award." Maya walked to the stage in a daze, accepted the beautiful glass trophy, and gave a brief speech thanking her team, her family, and everyone who had supported the Bridgewater project. When she returned to her seat, Harrison was waiting with champagne and that same brilliant smile. "To the most talented architect I know," he said, raising his glass. "To the man who made me believe I could win," Maya replied. They clinked glasses, and Maya finally let herself relax. This was real. She had won the award and she had Harrison, and somehow, impossibly, everything had worked out. Later, after the formalities were done and they had made the rounds congratulating other nominees and chatting with committee members, Harrison pulled Maya onto the dance floor. A slow song was playing, something romantic and timeless. "I have been thinking," Harrison said as they swayed together. "Dangerous habit," he smiled. "I want you to meet my parents. They are visiting next month and I want them to meet the woman I am going to marry." Maya's steps faltered. "Marry, Harrison, we have only been together a few weeks. I know, and I am not proposing right now, not officially. But I want you to know that is where I see this going. I have never been more certain of anything in my life." He cupped her face in his hands. "You challenge me, Maya. You make me want to be better, do better. You remind me why I fell in love with architecture in the first place. I do not want to spend another day without you in my life. Maya felt tears spill over, running down her cheeks. I want that too, all of it, with you. Yeah. Yeah. Though you are going to have to actually propose properly at some point. I have always dreamed of a proper proposal. Harrison laughed. Noted. I will make it good, I promise. They danced until the band started packing up, lost in each other, oblivious to the curious and delighted looks from the other guests. When they finally left the ballroom, stepping out into the cool night air, Maya felt lighter than she had in years. Take me home, she said, leaning into Harrison's warmth. My place or yours? Ours, Maya said. From now on, wherever we are together, that is home. Harrison kissed her temple. I like the sound of that. 3 months later, on a rainy Saturday morning, Maya stood in Harrison's loft, which had gradually become their loft as her things migrated from her apartment, and stared at her phone in shock. Harrison, you need to see this. He emerged from the bedroom, hair still damp from the shower. What is it? I just got an email from Marcus Chen. You know, the developer who is planning that massive affordable housing project on the east side. I know Marcus. What about him? He wants us to collaborate on the project. Both of us together. He said, and I quote, the two of you are the perfect combination of vision and community focus. I cannot think of anyone better to design housing that will actually serve the people who need it most. Harrison was silent for a moment. Then a slow smile spread across his face. Are you serious? Dead serious. Harrison, this could be huge, not just for our careers, but for the city. Real affordable housing designed right could change lives. He crossed the room and pulled her into his arms. We would be working together every day. Is that a problem? Are you kidding? It is perfect, though I have to warn you I can be difficult to work with, Maya laughed. You think I am not. This is going to be interesting. It is going to be incredible. Harrison kissed her. Should we tell him yes? Absolutely yes. Let me write back right now. Working together turned out to be everything Maya hoped and more. She and Harrison complemented each other perfectly, her community-focused approach balancing his grand vision, his resources and experience helping bring her innovative ideas to life. They spent long hours at the drafting table, debating and collaborating, sometimes arguing but always with mutual respect and love underlying everything. Jennifer merged her small firm with Harrison's, creating a new partnership that combined boutique creativity with established reputation. They took on projects that mattered, buildings that served real people and solved real problems. 6 months into the affordable housing project, Harrison took Maya back to Forest Park, to the same viewpoint where they had shared their first kiss. The spring evening was perfect, warm and clear, the city spread out below them like a glittering blanket. You remember what we talked about that first time we hiked here? Harrison asked as they stood looking at the view. We argued about form versus function. You said function always wins because good architecture serves the people using it. I remember. Harrison took both her hands, his expression serious but with that familiar warmth in his eyes. You were right, and you have taught me that over and over in the months we have been together. You have made me a better architect and a better man. He dropped to one knee, and Maya's breath caught. Maya Rodriguez, you are the function to my form, the purpose to my design. You make everything in my life better, more meaningful, more real. Will you marry me? The ring he pulled from his pocket was beautiful, a simple platinum band with a single perfect diamond. But Maya barely looked at it. She was too busy looking at Harrison's face, at the love and hope and certainty she saw there. Yes, she said, her voice breaking with emotion. Yes, 1,000 times yes. Harrison slid the ring onto her finger and stood, pulling her into a kiss that felt like coming home. When they finally broke apart, both laughing and crying, the sun was setting over Portland, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. "I love you," Maya said. "I love you too, so much." They stood there until full dark fell, wrapped in each other's arms, talking about the future they would build together. Not just buildings, but a life, a partnership, forever. The wedding took place a year later in the Bridgewater Community Center, the building that had brought them together. Maya wore a simple white dress, elegant and classic, while Harrison looked handsome in a navy suit. Both their families were there, along with friends from every stage of their lives. Patricia Chen attended, as did many of their colleagues from the architecture world. But the guests that mattered most to Maya were the community members who used the center, the people whose lives had been touched by her design. They filled the space with joy and warmth, celebrating not just the marriage but the love that had grown from competition into partnership. Maya's father walked her down the aisle, squeezing her hand as he handed her off to Harrison. "Take care of my girl," he said. "With everything I have," Harrison promised. The ceremony was short and sweet, officiated by a friend from architecture school. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Harrison kissed Maya with such tenderness that there was not a dry eye in the house. At the reception, they danced their first dance to the same song that had played at the awards gala, coming full circle from that night when everything changed. "Happy," Harrison murmured against her hair. "Happier than I ever thought possible. Good. Because I plan to keep making you this happy for the rest of our lives." 2 years after the wedding, Maya stood in the completed affordable housing development, walking through the finished units with a tour group of architecture students. The project had won multiple awards, been featured in international publications, and most importantly, provided quality homes for 200 families who desperately needed them. But the award Maya was most proud of was not hanging on any wall. It was growing inside her, a little flutter of movement that made her smile every time she felt it. She had not told Harrison yet. She wanted to wait for the right moment to make it special. Tonight, over dinner at the restaurant where they had their first official date, she would show him the ultrasound picture, watch his face light up with that joy that she had come to know so well. "Miss Foster," one of the students asked, "what was the biggest challenge in designing this project?" Maya smiled. She had kept her maiden name professionally but took Harrison's name personally, loving the way it connected her to him. "The biggest challenge was balancing affordability with quality. We refused to compromise on either. Every unit has good light, good air flow, access to green space. We used sustainable materials and energy-efficient systems. These are not just affordable apartments, they are homes, places where families can thrive. And you designed all this with your husband." "Yes." Harrison brought the vision, I brought the community focus, and together we created something neither of us could have done alone. That is what partnership is about, making each other better. After the tour ended, Maya drove to the loft, letting herself in with her key. Harrison was at the drafting table, bent over a set of drawings, completely absorbed in his work. She stood in the doorway for a moment, just watching him, this man who had become her whole world. He looked up and caught her watching. His face transformed with that smile that still made her heart race. "Hey, beautiful, how was the tour?" "Good, inspiring. Those students are so eager to change the world, like you did, like we did." Maya walked over and wrapped her arms around him from behind, resting her chin on his shoulder to see what he was working on. "New project, thinking about it. Remember that old warehouse on the waterfront? The owner approached me about adaptive reuse. I think it could be really special." "Let me guess. You want to collaborate, always. Harrison turned in his chair and pulled her onto his lap. I never want to work without you again. You make everything better. Maya cupped his face in her hands, looking into those gray-blue eyes that she had come to love so much. Speaking of making things, I have something to tell you. Yeah, we are going to need to start thinking about a bigger place. Maybe one of those units in the family section of the affordable housing project. Harrison looked confused for a moment, then understanding dawned. His eyes went wide. Maya, are you saying? She nodded, tears already forming. We are having a baby. I am pregnant. Harrison let out a whoop of joy and stood, lifting her off her feet and spinning her around. We are having a baby. Maya, we are having a baby. Careful, she laughed. I am precious cargo now. He set her down gently, his hands going to her still flat stomach. How far along? 10 weeks. I wanted to wait until I was sure before I told you. 10 weeks. So the baby will be here in 7 months, give or take. Harrison's eyes were bright with unshed tears. I cannot believe it. We are going to be parents. Are you happy? Happy, Maya, I am ecstatic, terrified but ecstatic. He kissed her softly. You are going to be an amazing mother, and you will be an amazing father. They held each other for a long moment, both processing the magnitude of this new chapter in their lives. Then Harrison pulled back, his expression determined. Okay, we have a lot to do. We need to find a new place, set up a nursery. Should we find out if it is a boy or girl? And we need to tell our families. When do you want to tell them? And we should start thinking about names. Maya laughed at his enthusiasm. Harrison, we have time. 7 whole months. We do not need to do everything today. I know, but I want to. I want to be prepared. I want to do this right. We will do it right together, just like everything else. She took his hand and placed it on her stomach. One day at a time, remember? That is how we started, and that is how we will continue. Harrison took a deep breath and nodded. One day at a time, I can do that. Good. Now, I believe you promised me dinner tonight. I am eating for 2 now, so I am extra hungry. Right, dinner, let me grab my coat. He was already moving, then stopped and turned back to her. Maya. Yeah, thank you for everything. For competing with me, for challenging me, for loving me. For giving me this life I never knew I wanted. Thank you. Maya felt fresh tears spring to her eyes. Even after all this time, Harrison could still reduce her to emotional mush with just a few words. Thank you for seeing me, that day in the lobby, for not letting me keep my walls up. For making me believe that I could have it all, the career and the love and the partnership. You deserve it all. We both do. 7 months later, Maya lay in a hospital bed, exhausted and exhilarated, holding their daughter for the first time. Hannah Rose Foster had arrived 3 days early, weighing 7 pounds and 2 ounces, with a shock of dark hair and her father's gray-blue eyes. Harrison sat beside the bed, his arm around Maya's shoulders, both of them staring at the tiny miracle in her arms. She is perfect, Harrison whispered, his voice full of awe. She is ours, Maya replied. I still cannot quite believe it. Believe it. Harrison gently touched Hannah's tiny hand, and she immediately gripped his finger. His face crumpled. Oh God, Maya, she's holding my finger. I see that. I am going to do everything I can to give her the best life possible. I swear it. I know you will. We both will. A nurse knocked softly and poked her head in. You have some very eager grandparents in the waiting room, ready for visitors. Maya looked at Harrison, who nodded. Send them in. The room filled with family. Maya's parents and brother, Harrison's parents, Jennifer and her husband. Everyone wanted to hold Hannah, to marvel at her tiny features, to welcome her to the world. Maya's mother kissed her forehead. You did so well, baby. She is beautiful. Thanks, Mom. Harrison's father clapped him on the shoulder. Fatherhood looks good on you, son. It feels good. Terrifying, but good. As Maya watched her family gather around their daughter, she felt a sense of completion she had never experienced before. This was what mattered. Not awards or recognition or professional success, though those were nice. What mattered was love, family, partnership. Building a life with someone who made you better, who challenged you, who stood beside you through everything. She caught Harrison's eye across the room. He was holding Hannah now, rocking her gently, his expression one of pure love. When he noticed Maya watching, he smiled, that brilliant smile that still made her heart skip after all this time. Later, after the visitors left and it was just the three of them in the quiet hospital room, Harrison sat beside Maya's bed again, Hannah asleep in his arms. "You remember that first day?" he asked quietly. "In the lobby of the Architectural Society, of course. I knew then that you were special. I did not know you would become everything to me, but I knew you were someone I wanted to know, someone who would matter. I thought you were just another arrogant millionaire architect," Maya admitted with a smile. Harrison laughed softly. "Fair assessment. I probably was pretty arrogant back then. You still are sometimes, but I love you anyway. Lucky me." He looked down at Hannah's sleeping face. "I have been thinking about the future, about what kind of legacy we want to leave for her. And I want to focus more on projects like the affordable housing development, buildings that matter. I have spent a lot of years chasing prestige and recognition. But what you said, that first time we argued about form versus function, that stuck with me. Architecture should serve people. That is what I want to teach Hannah. That is what I want our life's work to be about." Maya felt her heart swell with love for this man who kept finding ways to surprise and delight her. "I think that sounds perfect. Yeah, we can build a better world for her. One beautiful, functional building at a time." Harrison leaned over and kissed her, careful not to jostle the baby sleeping in his arms. "I love you, Maya Foster." "I love you too, Harrison Foster." 5 years later, Maya stood on a stage in Washington, D.C., accepting the American Institute of Architects Gold Medal on behalf of Foster and Rodriguez Architecture. The firm had grown to 20 employees, all dedicated to creating buildings that served communities and elevated lives. Harrison stood beside her, his hand in hers as they accepted the award together. It was unprecedented, two architects sharing the honor, but the AIA had decided their partnership deserved recognition. "This award is not just for us," Maya said into the microphone. "It is for every architect who believes that buildings can change lives. For everyone who refuses to compromise on quality, even when budgets are tight and timelines are impossible. For everyone who remembers that architecture is not just about creating beautiful structures, but about creating spaces where people can thrive." The audience applauded, and Maya saw tears in more than one pair of eyes. When they left the stage, Hannah was waiting with Maya's mother, holding a handmade sign that said, "Congrats, Mommy and Daddy." She was 5 now, precocious and clever, obsessed with building blocks and already showing signs of inheriting her parents' creative talents. Hannah ran to them and Harrison scooped her up in his arms. "Did you see us, sweetheart? You won the big prize." "We did. Because we worked together just like you and your friends build together at school." "I want to build real buildings someday," Hannah announced seriously. Maya smoothed her daughter's dark curls so like Harrison's. "Then you will. You can be anything you want to be." That night, back in their house in a quiet Portland neighborhood, Maya and Harrison stood on their deck, watching the sunset. Hannah was asleep inside, worn out from the excitement of the day and the trip to D.C. "We did it," Harrison said, pulling Maya close. "Everything we dreamed about that night at the awards gala, we built it all. We did, and we are not done yet. No. I was thinking we have room for one more." Hannah keeps asking for a little brother or sister. Harrison looked down at her, eyebrows raised. Are you saying what I think you are saying? I am saying maybe it is time to expand our family again, if you are interested. His smile was brilliant in the fading light. I am very interested. Should we start trying? I thought we could start tonight, actually. Harrison laughed and swept her up into his arms. I love the way you think, Mrs. Foster. I love you, Mr. Foster. Today, tomorrow, forever. Forever, Harrison agreed, and kissed her as the sun set over the city they both loved, the city they had helped shape with their buildings and their vision. Inside, Hannah slept soundly, surrounded by the love of parents who had found each other through competition and built a life through partnership. And outside, the world kept turning, full of buildings yet to be designed, lives yet to be changed, and love stories yet to be written. But this love story, the one that started with two architects competing for an award, had found its perfect ending. Not because the story was over, but because Maya and Harrison had learned the most important lesson architecture could teach. The best structures are built on strong foundations, and the strongest foundation of all is love. Years later, when people asked how they made it work, balancing marriage and parenthood and a demanding career, Maya always gave the same answer. We take it one day at a time. We choose each other every single day, and we never forget that we are better together than we ever were apart. Harrison would add, and we never stop competing with each other to see who can make the other one happier. It was this spirit of loving competition, of constantly striving to lift each other up, that defined their relationship from that very first day in the Architectural Society lobby to every day after. They had started as rivals, became lovers, and built a partnership that was greater than the sum of its parts. And in the end, that was the greatest award of all. Not the trophies on their shelves or the buildings bearing their names, but the life they had created together, one beautiful day at a time. 2 years after that conversation on the deck, their son Michael was born. He had Maya's warm brown eyes and her stubborn determination, apparent from the moment he entered the world a week early, refusing to wait for his scheduled delivery date. Hannah doted on her baby brother, teaching him everything she knew about blocks and colors and the proper way to arrange toy cars. Maya and Harrison watched their children grow with wonder, seeing pieces of themselves reflected in Hannah's creative spirit and Michael's careful precision. The firm continued to thrive. They took on bigger projects, more ambitious visions, but never lost sight of what mattered, creating spaces that served people. Every building they designed had soul, purpose, meaning. On their 10th wedding anniversary, Harrison surprised Maya with a trip back to the Bridgewater Community Center, the building that had brought them together. They walked through the space hand in hand, remembering that first awards gala, the nervousness and hope and the beginning of everything. Do you have any regrets? Harrison asked as they stood in the main hall where they had been married. Maya thought about it seriously. The long hours, the challenges of balancing career and family, the times they had argued over design decisions or struggled to meet impossible deadlines. All of it. Not one, she said finally. Every moment, good and bad, led us here, led us to this life. How could I regret any of it? Good answer. Harrison pulled her close. Because I have something to tell you. I have been approached about teaching at the university. A guest professor position, 1 semester a year. I want to do it, but only if you think it is a good idea. Teaching, passing on what we have learned, inspiring the next generation. It feels right, Maya, like the next step in our journey. Maya smiled. Then you should do it. We will make it work, like we make everything work. Together, always together. And that was the truth that sustained them through everything that followed. the joy of watching their children grow into remarkable young people, the satisfaction of seeing their buildings become beloved landmarks, the quiet moments of connection in the midst of busy lives, the knowledge that whatever came, they would face it together. When Hannah announced at 16 that she wanted to study architecture, following in her parents' footsteps, Maya and Harrison could not have been prouder. When Michael chose engineering instead, they supported that dream with equal enthusiasm, understanding that he had to forge his own path. The firm evolved as they did, bringing in new partners, expanding into new cities, but always maintaining the core values that Maya and Harrison had established from the beginning: excellence, integrity, and an unwavering commitment to creating buildings that served the people who used them. On Maya's 50th birthday, Harrison threw her a surprise party at their firm's office, inviting everyone who had been part of their journey. Colleagues and clients, family and friends, all gathered to celebrate not just Maya, but the incredible life they had built together. As Maya looked around the room at all the faces she loved, she felt overwhelmed with gratitude. This life, this beautiful, complicated, perfect life, had all started because she took a chance. Because she walked into that lobby 21 years ago, determined to prove herself, and met a man who saw her, really saw her, and loved what he found. Harrison found her in the crowd and made his way over. He was 52 now, his dark hair more silver than brown, his face lined in ways that only made him more handsome. When he smiled at her, it was with the same warmth and love she had seen that first day. "Happy birthday, love." "This is too much," Maya said, gesturing to the party around them. "Nothing is too much for you. You deserve every good thing." "I already have every good thing. I have you, our kids, our work. What more could anyone want?" Harrison pulled her onto the makeshift dance floor in the center of the office. A slow song played, something romantic and familiar. They swayed together, oblivious to everyone watching, lost in each other just like they had been at that awards gala so many years ago. "You remember what I told you that night," Harrison murmured against her hair. "That I was going to marry you. I remember. I thought you were crazy." "Maybe I was, but I was also right. Loving you has been the smartest decision I ever made." Maya pulled back to look at his face, this face she knew better than her own. Not smarter than all those award-winning designs, not even close. "You are my greatest achievement, Maya. You and our family and this life we built. Everything else is just buildings." "Just buildings," Maya repeated with a smile. The great Harrison Foster, calling buildings just buildings. "Who are you and what have you done with my husband?" He laughed and kissed her, right there in front of everyone. "I am the man who competed against you for an award and ended up winning something so much better. I am the man who gets to spend every day with the most brilliant, beautiful, frustrating woman in the world. I am the luckiest man alive." "I love you," Maya said, tears streaming down her face. 21 years and you still make me cry with your words. Good tears, the best tears." They danced until the song ended. Then another song started and they kept dancing, holding each other close, celebrating not just a birthday but a lifetime of love and partnership and choosing each other, over and over again. As the party continued around them and their children laughed with friends and their colleagues toasted to the future, Maya knew with absolute certainty that this was what happiness looked like. Not perfection, not a life without challenges or struggles, but a life built with someone who made you better, who stood beside you through everything, who loved you fiercely and completely. She had walked into that architectural society lobby 21 years ago hoping to win an award. Instead, she had won something infinitely more valuable: a partner, a best friend, a love that would last forever. And in the end, that was the greatest prize of all.